There are 7 financial mistakes that most people make every single day. And the worst part? They feel normal. They feel responsible. Some of them even feel smart. But each one of these mistakes is quietly draining thousands of dollars from your life every year. And if you're making even 3 of them right now, which statistically you probably are, you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table over the next decade. But here's the good news. Every single one of these mistakes has a fix, and each fix takes less than a day. By the end of this video, you'll have 7 upgrades to your financial life that start working immediately. I'm going to show you all 7, and for each one, I'm going to show you what the richest man in history did instead. Here's the thing about money mistakes. They don't feel like mistakes when you're making them. They feel like convenience. They feel like treating yourself. They feel like, it's only $20. And individually, sure, $20 is nothing. But money mistakes are never individual. They're patterns, and patterns compound. That $20 a day is $7,300 a year. Invested over 10 years at 10%? That's over $120,000 from $20. That's what we're really talking about today. The invisible patterns that separate people who build wealth from people who wonder where it all went. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1, lifestyle inflation. You get a raise, or a better job, or a bonus. And immediately, your spending rises to match. New apartment, better car, nicer restaurants, upgraded subscriptions. You're making more but saving exactly the same, which is nothing. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's the number 1 reason high-income people end up broke. There are people making $200,000 a year who are living paycheck to paycheck, not because they're irresponsible, because every raise bought a bigger life instead of a bigger future. Now here's what Mansa Musa did instead. This man had a net worth estimated at over $400 billion. $400 billion. And you know what he wore? A simple white robe. Every day. Same robe. Same style. He didn't build himself a bigger palace every time his empire earned more gold. He built bigger systems. More trade routes, more schools, more infrastructure. His personal lifestyle stayed flat while his empire's wealth grew exponentially. That's not discipline. That's strategy. And here's your upgrade. Every time your income goes up, your lifestyle stays the same for at least 3 months. Every new dollar goes straight to your future you account. Then, and only then, you decide what to upgrade. The person who keeps their lifestyle flat after every raise is building wealth on autopilot while everyone else resets to zero. That gap between what you earn and what you spend, that's where empires are built. Protect it like it's everything, because it is. Mistake number 2, paying interest on things that lose value. You finance a brand new car at 6% interest. The moment you drive it off the lot, it loses 20% of its value. By year 3, you owe more than the car is worth. And it's not just cars. Furniture on payment plans, electronics on credit, anything that loses value over time while you're paying interest on it. That's a wealth destroyer. Mansa Musa never made this mistake, not once. Every piece of gold he spent went into something that appreciated. Trade posts that generated revenue for generations. Mosques that attracted pilgrims and commerce for centuries. Sankore University, which attracted scholars from across the entire Islamic world and turned Timbuktu into a center of knowledge and trade. Everything he touched went up in value. Here's your upgrade. If it goes down in value, pay cash. If it goes up in value, financing is okay. Buy used cars with cash. Wait on furniture. Save up for electronics. Reserve debt for things that appreciate. Education, real estate, business investments. The moment you stop financing depreciating assets, every dollar you use to spend on interest starts compounding in your favor. That car payment you eliminated, that's $400 a month working for you now instead of against you. That's not a small change. That's a trajectory change. Mistake number 3, no emergency fund. No emergency fund means you're one bad week away from debt. A car breaks down, a tooth cracks, You get laid off. Without a cushion, every surprise becomes a credit card charge that takes months to pay off, with interest. And that's the trap. The emergency creates the debt. The debt creates the stress. The stress makes you spend emotionally, which creates more debt. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Now here's what most people don't know about the Mali Empire. Mansa Musa maintained gold reserves specifically for stability, not for spending, not for display, for absorbing shocks. When droughts hit, when trade routes were disrupted, when conflicts threatened his borders, the reserves kept the empire running without panic. He didn't spend everything and hope for the best. He kept a cushion that let his empire survive anything. Your emergency fund is the same thing at a personal scale. And here's what changes when you build it. Your entire relationship with money transforms. Stress drops. Decision-making improves. You stop saying yes to bad jobs and bad opportunities out of desperation. You negotiate harder because you're not afraid to walk away. Financial peace isn't a feeling, it's a position. And it only costs 3 to 6 months of expenses to get there. Start with 1 month, then 3, then 6. High-yield savings account, automatic transfer, don't touch it. Boring? Yes. The difference between a setback and a catastrophe? Also, yes. And honestly, the next mistake is the one I see the most. And it's the sneakiest because it disguises itself as being responsible. Mistake number 4, saving money but not investing it. You're saving money? Great. But it's sitting in a checking account earning 0.01% interest while inflation eats 3 to 4% of its value every year. That means your money is losing purchasing power every single day it sits there. In 10 years, your $15,000 will buy what $11,000 buys today. You didn't spend it. Inflation spent it for you. This one drives me crazy because it's the exact opposite of what Mansa Musa did. He never let gold sit idle, ever. That's literally code 1 from the first video, circulation over accumulation. His gold was always moving, into trade routes, into infrastructure, into education, into relationships with foreign powers that opened new markets. Every single piece of gold had a job. Every piece was either generating returns or building something that would generate returns later. Your money sitting in a checking account has no job. It's unemployed. And unemployed money loses value every single day. Here's your upgrade. Once your emergency fund is set, 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account, everything beyond that goes into investments. A simple S&P 500 index fund. You don't need to pick stocks. You don't need to time the market. You just need your money in the game instead of on the bench. The day you make that move is the day your money gets a job. It starts working 24/7, weekends, holidays, while you sleep. That's not a small shift. That's the difference between treading water and swimming forward. Mistake number 5. Subscriptions you forgot about. The average American spends $219 a month on subscriptions, and nearly half of them forget at least one active subscription they're paying for. $219 a month is $2,600 a year. Over a decade invested instead of wasted, that's over $40,000 gone into things you don't even use. Even Mansa Musa audited his systems. His empire ran on trade routes, salt, gold, copper, textiles. And if a route wasn't producing, it got restructured or shut down. He didn't keep funding things that weren't generating returns just because they'd always been there. He was constantly evaluating where his resources were flowing and cutting what wasn't working. A king with $400 billion still paid attention to what was and wasn't working. You can spend 15 minutes on your bank statement. Here's your upgrade. Open your bank statement right now, or after this video. Search for every recurring charge. Cancel everything you haven't used in the last 30 days. Keep what you genuinely use. This isn't about deprivation, it's about awareness. 15 minutes of auditing could free up $100 to $200 a month. That's $1,200 to $2,400 a year, invested over a decade. That's a down payment on a house. From 15 minutes of work, that might be the highest paying 15 minutes of your year. Mistake number 6, no financial education. You spent 12 years in school. You learned the Pythagorean theorem. You learned about the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell. You probably diagrammed a sentence at some point, but nobody taught you how a credit score works, or what compound interest does, or how to read a pay stub, or what an index fund is. And that's not your fault, but it is your problem, because the financial system isn't designed to be intuitive. It's designed to profit from people who don't understand it. Credit card companies love financially illiterate customers. Payday lenders depend on them. Now think about what Mansa Musa did with this exact problem. He didn't just educate himself, he built an entire university, Sankore, in Timbuktu. He imported scholars from Cairo, architects from Andalusia, engineers from across the Islamic world. At its peak, Sankore had more books than most European libraries. He understood that knowledge wasn't just nice to have, it was the highest returning investment in his entire empire. Knowledge attracted talent, talent attracted trade, trade generated wealth, wealth funded more knowledge. The flywheel. Here's your upgrade. One book on personal finance. One. That's all it takes to understand more about money than 90% of the population. Or one course, or one channel, like this one. You're already watching this video, which means you're already ahead of most people. The flywheel is already spinning. Every piece of financial knowledge you gain from this point forward compounds just like money does. Except it can't be lost in a market crash. It can't be stolen. And it never depreciates. It's the one investment with infinite returns. Mistake number 7. And this is the big one. The mistake underneath all the other mistakes. Trying to look rich instead of being rich. Most people optimize for appearance. The car, the clothes, the apartment, the Instagram. They spend money to signal status to people who don't actually care. And here's the irony. The people who actually have money, most of them don't look like it. Studies consistently show that the majority of millionaires drive used cars, live in modest homes, and spend less than their neighbors think they do. And this is where the Mansa Musa story gets really interesting. Because there's one moment in his life where visible wealth actually backfired. When he walked through Cairo on his pilgrimage, he gave away gold everywhere. It looked incredibly generous. It looked like ultimate power. But it crashed the gold market for 12 years. And on his way home, he had to borrow gold back from Cairo's moneylenders, at interest, to stabilize what he'd disrupted. That was the one time his display of wealth cost him, and he learned from it. After Cairo, the strategy shifted. The wealth went underground, into systems, into institutions, into infrastructure that generated returns quietly, without the spectacle. Here's your upgrade. The moment you stop optimizing for how wealthy you look and start optimizing for how wealthy you actually are, everything accelerates. Because all that money you were spending on appearances, it's now building the real thing. The car nobody notices, the apartment that's modest, the clothes that are simple, and behind all of it, an investment account that grows every single month. That's not sacrifice. That's strategy. Mansa Musa had $400 billion and one robe. Priorities. Here's what's real. Every one of these 7 mistakes cost you between $1,000 and $10,000 a year. Stack 3 or 4 of them together, and you're looking at a decade's worth of wealth that just evaporated. Not into anything memorable, into convenience, subscriptions, interest payments, and appearances. But here's the flip side, and this is the part I want you to take with you. You just learned 7 upgrades, not 7 guilt trips, 7 upgrades. Each one puts money back in your pocket. Each one moves you from the side of the equation where money drains out to the side where it flows in. Protect the gap. Put your money to work. Build the cushion. Invest instead of save. Audit what isn't working. Learn what most people won't. And build real wealth instead of performing it. Mansa Musa didn't build the largest fortune in human history by looking wealthy. He built it by understanding what money was actually for, and then building systems that moved it strategically, protected it fiercely, and grew it relentlessly. 7 mistakes, 7 upgrades, and every dollar you redirect from today forward is a dollar that starts working for you instead of against you. The difference between broke and building isn't income, it's patterns. Fix the pattern, fix the trajectory,